Anyone familiar with car foolery knows that we hate being happy. All of our vehicles are complete dumpster fires, and we like to work on stuff out in the cold, in the rain, until just recently with John in his garage. Now, I have a bunch of shitty MR2s, and John has a stupid BMW and a Skyline that doesn't have an engine, so clearly we hate ourselves. But once upon a time, Steven decided he was going to treat himself really nicely. So he bought himself a Subaru WRX, and it had nothing but problems the entire time he owned it. Plan didn't work out very well. So, me being the Toyota elitist douchebag that I always have been, I talked Steven into getting a Lexus LS400. If you're not familiar with Lexus LS400s, then you're a complete tool, and you probably don't know that they make wonderful power with their race-derived V8 engine, get phenomenal fuel economy with advanced engineering practices, and are just absolutely bulletproof, other than like the power steering. Speaking of being miserable, I'm just walking outside in the rain. After college, Steven took a job with OHSU, and his job was to drive all over the state collecting information as a researcher. He wanted a comfortable, reliable, and fuel-efficient car, and, well, that's exactly what Steven got himself. A 1998 third-gen Lexus LS400. Steven bought this third-gen LS back in 2016 for only $5,000. The car had only 163,000 miles on the clock, and I think he just fell in love instantly. Car like this, sumptuous leather everywhere, fantastic engine, 5-speed automatic gearbox, way over boosted power steering so that you have no idea what direction the wheels are pointed. Lexus gives it all to you. Now, some fuckboys out there on the internet, you know, they put coilovers on their LSs, lower them to the ground, maybe weld up the rear end and turn it into a drift barge, but Steven is not that kind of guy. Neither am I, thankfully. However, Steven does like having a manual gearbox because Steven is a real man. The problem with Lexus is they never made the LS400 with a manual gearbox, and so ever since he's been driving it, we've always kind of been talking every once in a while about maybe putting a T56 6-speed in here one day. Sure, it's a lot of work, but what you end up with is just absolutely fantastic. So what's the plan with Steven's LS? Well, he's got to sell it. You see, Steven just started medical school not that long ago, and well, the LS has 273,000 miles on it now. Yeah, that's right. He put 110,000 miles on this thing, and he did maintain it well enough, and the car still drives around just fine. But Steven did just buy a 98,000 mile 2001 Honda Accord to pretty much replace the LS400 in his life. And Steven, being the absolutely genius financial man that he is, it's sad to say, but I think the Lexus has got to go. So what this is now is basically my farewell to the Lexus LS400. Even though it didn't have a whole lot of videos on the channel, I wanted to make this special goodbye for the car and for Steven. If you've never driven an LS400, you would be very surprised on how nice and just modern this still feels. This car is from 1998, and I'm living in 2020, and this still feels very comfortable and kind of like a brand new car. Not a brand new top tier Lexus, but still, it does feel very nice, and the power is fantastic. The idea that Steven was a mid-20-something-year-old, fresh out of college, and just putting over 100,000 miles on this car in the Oregon countryside from medical practice to medical practice. It's kind of one of those romantic stories that you kind of make up in your head about what kind of person would have owned a specific kind of car in a certain time frame. Most of these Lexus LS cars just get driven around the city and, you know, maybe hit the interstate every once in a while, but I feel like that's not really living up to the potential of what the car can do. And what's so incredible is that Steven tracked his gas mileage the entire time he owned this thing, and it got fantastic fuel economy. on I-5 with the cruise control set, this thing will do 30 miles per gallon. That's just incredible for a 4,000-pound V8 powered car. You know, for a car from the 20th century, this thing has a lot of very modern features that we find in today's cars. I mean, it has a touchscreen for taking control of the climate controls. It has a built-in GPS that looks like a SimCity 2000 video game come to life. Both people in the front of the car get a heated seat. And one more thing about the built-in GPS. Think about that. In 1998, Toyota was building a car that was already talking to the satellites in space to figure out where exactly the car was on the planet. And it's absolutely incredible that it still works to this day. This car talks to space. It's from last century. That's just amazing. I've heard some people say that you learn to love a car because you find a way to work through the hard times, but I mean, this car didn't really have it. This is a fantastic car for Steven, and I'm really sad to see it go. It's amazing how comfortable this car is, but I think what's more amazing than that is what happens when you push a special little button right under the volume knob when you team that action with a heavy dose of your right foot. Jesus, this thing is fast. Why is this so fast? This is way too fast. Man, if only Lexus had made this car with quicker, more responsive steering and like a 5 or a 6-speed manual transmission. Sure, it might not have sold very much, but oh my God, this car would have been freaking incredible. It's just such a bummer that Lexus didn't make that though. Here's the other magic secret about LS400s. You can drive like a fucking lunatic like I just did, and then come into a residential area and drive a little slowly and no one realizes that you're insane. Another way to know that Steven loved the shit out of this car, he kind of made this book. A collection of all of the maintenance records, all of the money he ever had to put into this car. Like oil changes and tires and when he's had services done, like when he did the suspension and stuff. But the funny part is that on the front of it, it has the Lexus Covenant, which I will read for you now. Lexus will enter the most competitive, prestigious automobile race in the world. Over 50 years of Toyota automotive experience has culminated in the creation of Lexus automobiles. They will be the finest automobiles ever built. Lexus will win the race because Lexus will do it right from the start. Lexus will have the finest dealer network in the industry. Lexus will treat each customer as we would a guest in our home. If you think you can't, you won't. If you think you can, you will. We can, we will. The Lexus Covenant. Issued by Lexus General Manager David Illingworth to all employees and associates in August 1987. That's what we're dealing with. And did they win the race that they entered? Actually, I have no idea. I don't know what race they were talking about, so no comment on that. You would think with this much Lexus LS enthusiasm, how could the guy ever sell the car? Something's just not adding up. Wait a minute. So Steven has this Honda Prelude that he races, and he currently has this Lexus, but he's selling it, and now he's going to be driving his Honda Accord? Did Steven become a Honda guy? Yep, you know, they were so close to like actually making it perfect, but it just needed those two things, and then it really would have been something.
What two things?
Oh, like a quicker steering rack and like, you know, 5 or 6 speed manual transmission.
Maybe with like a heavier steering feel and a little less body roll.
Yeah.
You know, BMW makes that.
Oh, you mean like the 540?
540i, yeah, like an E39.
Yeah, well, I think those are like absolutely super rare, and they're probably way out of Steven's price range. So
They are expensive, but 4.4 liter V8, so you can get more displacement, man. They're cool cars, but I don't think I've ever seen one in person.
yeah, I think
Not a
they're-
manual, anyways.
Yeah, I think they're basically non-existent.
Yeah, but we'll need to see with a manual.
Oof, oof.